All right.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
What's up, man? My name's Tommy. Yeah. What's your name?
Yeah, AJ.
AJ. For my 3 subscribers, hopefully one day more, they'll see. So I have a excuse. Sorry for talking loud. It's the only way I can get my laptop to record it. So for anyone wondering, really not important, but yeah, you commented on something on Reddit, some photoshops I was making. We got talking about aviation and tank shit, and yeah, you said that you had experiences in the Army with tanks, and I was just like, that's fucking cool as shit. I don't really have any set thing to talk about with my podcast. I just like to talk, as you'll learn. So yeah,
fair enough.
Shit, man.
Fair enough.
Tell me, you're out in Vegas. Tell me, yeah, dude, where do you want to start? How'd you get in the Army? What made you want to work with tanks, or was that your choice? Were you shuffled in there?
No, it was something I always knew I was gonna do. High school came to an end, and my old man said, "I hope you have a plan, because clearly school ain't your thing." There's nothing quite like someone that will not bullshit you, and I just went, yeah, I've already talked to a recruiter. He was like, good, I wasn't looking forward to telling you to get the fuck out.
Yeah, man.
So when I took my ASVAB, that's kind of like the Army's version of the SATs.
Okay.
That's the easiest way I can put it.
Okay.
I did it on a good hair day and scored through the roof.
Fuck yeah.
So they're like offering me all kinds of shit. One of the damn, that light in my garage. Right.
You're good. All
right. Well, one of the options like they were throwing at me was, warrant officer candidate school, and you graduate that, then you can go to flight school, or I think it's Fort McClellan. Anyway, you can fly helicopters. And I was like, oh shit. Well, on my dad's side of the family, men are pilots, private pilots, small aircraft. So I was like, well, this actually makes perfect sense. You got a few more tests that you need to get done, including vision. That's important. And I'm like, my vision is perfect. I got 20/10 vision. I can see shit before it happens. Yeah, what I didn't know is I'm red-green colorblind.
Oh,
all those offers got removed. You're like, no.
All the heads-up displays and shit. You wouldn't be able to see any of that shit.
Yeah, so it was kind of a kick in the dick.
Yeah,
seriously. I grabbed the first thing that they offered me, and that was a radio operator. So I said, cool, I'll operate radios, I guess. Go to basic, do the ritual thing, and it's like, you're a shitty civilian. We're going to sprinkle some act right on you until you figure out how to act right. Went to Fort Gordon, Georgia for school.
Oh yeah, I lived in Georgia for 15 years.
I liked parts of Georgia.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I was wild about Augusta, but again, I'm sure I wasn't exposed to the best parts of it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple spots in Georgia where it's like, look here. Everywhere else, it's like, don't look here. I lived in Athens, Valdosta, Atlanta. Yeah, it's yeah. Sorry, go on.
No. Believe me, I'm not one of those don't interrupt me types.
Well, I interrupt everyone, so I have to cut myself off.
No, that's cool. So my first duty station was Fort Clayton, Panama.
Okay.
And I'm a city kid from Vegas. What do I know about the jungle? Fuck all. I don't know shit about the jungle. And I got there, and a shocking amount of learning had to happen. Like, what did they tell us? It was, shit like, when it comes to the jungle here, everything is either actively trying to kill you or cannot wait till you die.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know shit about wildlife, but I guess I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. And
when was this?
Oh, ancient history. No, I'm dead serious. I joined in 94.
Uh-huh. I was born in 90. Yeah, dude, the guy that runs that not podcast subreddit with me. Yeah, we were talking, and I said something. He was like, "Yeah, man, that must be weird that you were alive when 9/11 happened." And I was like, "Wait, fuck, what?" Like, yeah.
How you doing? Hang on a sec.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, doing a podcast. You're on camera. I told you I was doing a podcast before you got on camera, and then you go.
I look fine.
Good, yeah. Household 6 has entered the view. You moved here.
I gotta move this.
No, you don't. You're good.
We have video proof. She's guilty.
You're good. You're good. Love you, babe.
So, 94.
Yeah, that was 1994.
Mm-hmm.
I joined, and according to some people, that was what was called the golden era because we weren't using muskets, and drill sergeants flat out told you we are not allowed to touch you, and would touch the shit out of you if you didn't act right.
Yeah.
But
is that why it was called the golden era? Was it?
I honestly don't know that I've only heard that term floated around the last couple of years.
Oh, I'd heard it was because it was we weren't actively at war, and like it was peacetime, and this is the horseshit. This is the analysis I've heard is that it was like 90s. It was like superstar America. It was like we weren't aside from the Gulf War. It was like we weren't at war. It was we're kind of peacekeeping. It was pre 9/11. I've heard that as the golden era explanation. I don't know shit. I have no military experience, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, no, that actually makes sense because being a volunteer military, you have until you got to the Clinton era where they started slashing budgets and shit, and they were like, "Oh, you need a new piece of gear." That shit's your responsibility.
Yeah.
I make $697 a month. What are you talking about?
Yeah, didn't they make y'all buy or didn't they have family members buying people GPSs and sending them, or was that Iraqi freedom?
That's probably more Iraqi freedom.
I feel like GPS was way too expensive for a civilian to buy in '93.
No, I remember. I remember the first GPS unit. It was called a plugger, and it was probably just a different combination of words that means
some
global position.
Yeah.
And about the size of an iPad. And I remember seeing one thinking it was the coolest thing ever. It's like this thing will plot your location down to a 10-meter grid.
Jeez. I mean,
you're like, yeah, and you're like, cool, and they're like, put it away. You're gonna learn old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, guys, you got this cool technology. We can't use it.
Yeah.
No.
Here's some candy. Yeah. Here's some candy. Now eat your broccoli. Kind of shit.
Well, later in life, it made sense. So I mean, you're gonna know the easy way eventually.
Yeah. If that shit fails,
batteries run out.
Yeah.
Shit breaks.
Yeah.
If you can't pull out a map and a compass and a protractor and go, you are here, then you might find yourself in a bad place.
Yeah.
So, that was outside of wildlife. It was one of the biggest eye openers was learning how to do land navigation in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't see shit in broad daylight.
Yeah.
And then you got to do it at night. So.
Yeah. How would I don't know how you would do that without like an aerial feed or I guess maps.
Well, no, you do have a map with you.
Yeah.
You do have a map, but what you're given is usually a series of targets to hit or points to hit, and then from that point you get your next heading and your next distance. And what you do, I still remember this, pace count. It takes 61 paces of my left foot to equal 100 meters.
Okay.
You move 100 meters, you take your pace counter, you move a bead. And once you move 10 beads, then you move another bead up here that tells you you've gone 1 kilometer. Which, all of that shit was confusing because everything on the map is metric.
Yeah.
But everything in the vehicle is miles per hour.
Yeah.
Weights are in pounds. I've heard that weights and explosives are in kilos. I mean, it's just...
Clusterfuck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is a stupid question, but so were you training on tanks at that time? At the time,
No,
I was gonna say,
no.
how the fuck do we fit tanks in jungles?
You don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the jungle wins that battle.
So, I had no plans on any form of careerism,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting out of the Army from Fort Hood, and you have to go talk to an in-service recruiter, and it's part of you have to check this box. And they said, are you moving back to Las Vegas? And my dad was sick, and I was like, yeah. They're like, well, they have a cavalry unit there. I'm like, I'm interested. Because remember, I got denied for everything because being colorblind.
Yeah.
I mean, for everything, infantry, anything,
Oh.
any of the cool jobs. They were like, no, you can't be red-green.
Yeah.
No, you can't be colorblind. So I was already in at this point. So they just said, okay, well, we'll send your paperwork to the unit, and once you in process there, then you'll go to school. Well, guess what? They don't do physicals at school. I just have to do what they say.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined a National Guard unit out here, and part of that, our job is to supplement the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment at Fort Irwin. And our job is to play bad guys. We dress in Russian uniforms. We have Russian designations for our units. And that's where I spent all my time on the Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
And what a fucking monster that thing is.
Really? Yeah, man. Tell me about that motherfucker.
All right.
It's a fucking modern day dragon.
Yeah. I actually still remember it. Memory's a funny thing. I remember it like I saw it, like it was in a movie, because the bays are big garages where they kept the tanks parked for the instructors to go through their shit. So the bay door opens, and there this thing is staring at me, 12 feet wide, 60 plus tons, and it looks like the gun tube is pointing directly at my face. And it's the most god-awful thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I was like, holy shit. My instructor noticed my enthusiasm. And I remember what he said. All right, gentlemen, this here lady, she's designed to kill. And I'm like, fuck, yes! But then he hits me with it. You know, this lady is designed to kill. She is not specific as to who. I get it. Yeah, I connected those dots fast.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
All right, fuck around and I'm dead as well.
Yeah. And going through this abbreviated school was awesome because we'd already been in the Army. We don't need to know the, make your bunk, shine your boots sort of bullshit. It's just, it's function. This is what this shit does. And first thing that surprised me, because I've been shooting rifles and pistols all my life.
Can I interrupt? Can you speak up a little bit? I just want to make sure that the audio records well. Because I have no idea what I'm doing, so I just have to get people to talk loudly.
Fair enough.
Perfect. Okay, keep going.
So, first thing I noticed was when you get inside the turret, it's like sitting in a jacuzzi filled with the leftovers of a machining factory. All right, you climb down in there and you go, wow, it's tight in here. And then you stuff 2 other people in there. And you go, wow, it's really tight in here. But I remember looking through the breech down the gun tube, and the first thing I noticed was, this is a smooth bore gun? Like,
not rifled?
Not rifled. And that really kind of surprised me. I was like, didn't that shit fall off with the musket,
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, with the M256 gun, the 120 millimeter smoothbore cannon, all your projectiles are fin stabilized. Projectiles need to be stable in flight. If you don't have fins, you need to impart a spin on it. You don't need to impart a spin on something that's got fins. It's stabilizing itself just fine. That was a little bit shocking. Even more shocking was when you realize you put a 40-plus pound projectile into the breech. Your gunner touches off the main gun. The gun jumps backwards, kind of ching sound.
Oh, shit.
And you don't hear the boom. The muzzle's 17 feet that way behind what amounts to 18 inches of armor. You feel it.
Yeah.
The tank moves. There's concussion. There's sound and fury, but it's just not what you think. You think a gun goes off.
Think like a rifle. Boom. Yeah, you think like a rifle on steroids next to you.
But
it's kind of damn.
No,
I never would have guessed that.
But the weird thing is when you're the gunner, the breech.
What is the breech?
The breech is like the chamber.
Okay.
Right. That's where the rounds
open the thing. Okay. All right.
Correct. Like you would think the chamber of a rifle or a pistol, the breech is that for the main gun.
Okay.
So you throw a round in there. The breech closes automatically. The loader clears the path of recoil, which is a fancy way of saying get the fuck out of the way of the gun. He arms the gun with a big lever and yells up, which means the gun's ready to go. And the gunner gets his fire commands from the tank commander. And when he's ready to shoot, he says, on the way. Or most frequently, on a way. You tend to speed things up. So you're looking at a target through either a daylight scope, through your daylight, or your thermal. Back in those days, it was just daylight and thermal, and shit's gotten way more advanced now, and I couldn't begin to tell you what it was like. But all you had to do was keep the crosshair centered on the target. That's all you have to do. The gun does the rest. You don't need to calculate.
You don't need to calibrate shit.
No, well, I mean, you have to calculate.
Oh yeah, wrong word, but
calculate.
Calculate, yeah.
Yeah, if your target's moving, if you're shooting it with a rifle, You have to apply lead. You don't shoot where the vehicle is. You shoot where the vehicle is going to be. Mm-hmm. The gun does that for you.
Holy fuck.
So
Holy
here's the cool
shit.
So at the target range, if they have moving targets, and how the gun works, to the best of my memory, is once you hit your laser rangefinder button, that gives the ballistic computer all the data it needs. Mm-hmm. Like targets moving here to here, and the gun needs to be here. So if it has a second or 1.8 seconds of flight time, then it'll be here. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to calculate elevation, distance. You just keep the fucking crosshair where it needs to be. The gun does the rest.
That's insane.
So the gun will jump forward. It'll turn the turret slightly if you're shooting at a target that's moving left to right. Uh-huh. Because naturally, it's sending the bullet where the target's going to be.
Yeah.
And you touch off the round, the gun, like I said, the gun's right here. It recoils, and then you wait for your boss to say target, which means ceasefire, or re-engage, what have you. But you just launched a 47-pound projectile, and the only thing that comes out of the breech is what's called an aft cap. It's the base plate of the round, because the rest of the case is made of some type of cellulose, and it burns the fuck up.
Really?
Yeah. So you throw in this 50-pound bullet, and this little tiny ashtray comes out. It's the coolest shit ever. Because biggest thing I'd fired up at that time was 40mm grenade launchers, and I thought that was the most awesome shit ever.
That's still fucking insane. Yeah, I think I fired a rifle when I was younger. I fired a pistol, but that's about it. But Jesus, so this thing's, and it doesn't make a ton of noise. Mm-mm. It's just, you get the rumble and the shock, but like,
yeah, the what usually gets your attention is the kind of the vibration of the tracks.
Okay,
and like, my formative years were spent in Panama, so there was no armored vehicles there. I had no fucking clue what to expect.
Yeah.
And when I got out at Fort Hood, I saw tanks and APCs and all that shit at a distance.
Yeah.
I very rarely saw them moving. And yeah, you can if the tank is buttoned up, all the hatches are closed, and the engine's running, you can stand basically at the front of the tank and not be sure it's your tank that's running.
Jesus.
Like,
so, man, that I always I think of like a gun, and a gun's like loud as fuck, and it's, you gotta aim it, and you gotta lead, and it's like, here's this tank, and it, not a lot of noise, it fucking calculates everything for you, and it just ding, shoots out a little. Jesus, man, talk about. Yeah, that's like the Rolls Royce of fucking shooting.
See, the funny thing is, despite all that technology, of course, you have an auxiliary sight.
Yeah.
And that's basically a rifle scope that's placed next to the gun tube. And that's, you spend plenty of time training on that because you train for shit going wrong.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about all this amazing technology crammed into this giant metal beast is the thing you're going to use to kill another tank is a dart. Not some weird high-tech thing, but a depleted uranium or tungsten long rod penetrator, like 2 feet long. Mm-hmm. And it's the simplest technology that once it gets moving a mile a second as it leaves the gun tube, it's gonna go through what it hits.
Yeah, just like a knife through butter.
It's physics, and I remember having this conversation with some kid who loved tanks but didn't really know about tanks.
Mm-hmm.
He knew data.
Some dumb shit like me. Yeah.
Well, you haven't said you have a preference for which is better, having never been within smelling distance of a tank.
Yeah.
This kid was talking.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
This kid was talking about Russian tanks, and they have reactive armor. And reactive armor is plastic explosive sandwiched in, and when something hits it, it compresses it, and then it blows up in the opposite direction of the projectile, canceling out all that kinetic energy. So he thought that was the coolest thing ever. And that's when I had to just go, do you want to know how to defeat reactive armor? And he's looking at me like I'm about to spill the Area 51 secrets.
Shoot it twice in the same spot?
Exactly. It's a one-trick pony. Shoot it again.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science here, because if it was, I wouldn't be able to do it. But yeah, but like I said, he was an enthusiast.
Yeah.
But just, it's like someone telling someone else that the best gun on this planet is blank. Like, well, which one have you shot? Well, I've never actually held one.
Yeah, well, it's not quite the same.
It flavors your opinion a little bit.
Yeah.
Or it flavors the weight of your opinion.
Yeah. Now, so you were saying is it the right term? What's the thing that shoots back with recoil? Is like the breech, the back of it, the butt just kind of...
No, the entire gun jumps back 12 inches.
Now, is there a thing? I feel like you'd almost kind of want, I don't know how to describe this. I feel like you'd almost want like a sort of like caged off air or something that like you can't get in the way of it. But
there's those things do exist, but they're a lot more minimal than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
You have this giant gun, this crazy amount of energy jumping rearwards, you'd think. Fences, screens, fucking airbags, something. But no, see, the tank commander sits directly behind the gunner. He's got this sort of collapsible post that sort of reminds him, don't stick shit past here when you're doing gunnery.
Yeah.
And the gunner, he's got other shit in between him and the gun, like the coaxial machine gun. That is literally right next to your damn face. Or the butt of it is. Mm-hmm. Of course, the muzzle is out here. And oddly enough, I don't think I've ever talked to a gunner that got bit or hurt, because you're usually glued to the primary sight, so you're stuck forward, not to the side.
Yeah, you're not moving around.
But we're not a smart breed, so I'm pretty sure somebody got tuned up at some point.
Yeah, somebody natural selection took its course. Yeah, I feel like that would, I've seen videos of people firing artillery and not getting out of the way. Yeah. That concussive force looks like it. If that doesn't kill you, I mean, Jesus, it hit. Like some like ISIS or something firing a gun. They're screaming Allahu Akbar, and you boom, and it hits them, but they'll just go flying back, and it's like that had to have turned your organs to jelly. Like, Jesus. Now
you shattered your hip bone like a 90-year-old man.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. What's the so you got different. Do you care if I take a piss?
Hey,
tell 20 seconds. Explain.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Explain how you got into the or your backstory, I guess.
Oh shit. No. My backstory is pretty basic. Not a good student. Further education was going to be wasted on me. And plus, I wanted to get the fuck out of Vegas. The Army seemed like a natural choice for me. Plus, I was kind of used to getting yelled at for dumb shit, so I kind of had that going for me, which is nice. So, lesson here: stay in school, kids. I can't tell you. I've seen it more than once. Gigantic, tough guys, jocks, athletes, dudes that were studs, but they'd never been away from home a night in their life, and they're crying their asses off in their bunks, and you're kind of going, dude, did you at least go camping once? Have you ever been outside? Huh?
Glorious. All right, so...
All right.
All right,
you got to
so,
step your game up if you want to get on that Joe Rogan level.
I know, right? I know. Yeah, if you ever go back and watch his first episodes, they're fucking hilarious.
No, I've been listening to him since about 2010.
Really?
Yeah, we kind of have a common buddy, and I've been a fan of his stand-up since.
What was his Talking Monkeys? What was his?
No, that was years later.
Oh, really?
No, I remember it. It was Belly of the Beast. He filmed it in Austin, and Alex Jones did his intro. And
I fucking love Alex.
I was like, the Fear Factor guy's a comedian, and he was a riot.
Yeah, my best friend sent me a link in December, probably around this time, December 2011, and it was just a clip of, but we didn't even know him as Joe Rogan. He was like, "Hey man," because we'd always send each other links about how big the universe is and how tiny we are. And I just remember him sending me a link and he said, "Hey dude, the Fear Factor guy thinks like us," and he sent it to me, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And after listening to a bunch of clips, I was like, "Where are all these clips from?" And I was like, "Oh, there's a podcast," and yeah, it was like early 2012, and I was like. Yeah, I'd show it to people, and they'd be like, there's no topic. They just talk. And I'd be like, that's what's so great. And it'd be like, I don't know, man. And then just, like, fast forward, and it's like, I'm pretty sure Rogan could influence an election if he wanted to. Like, but yeah, man, that's what I've always liked about his, is they're just, I think that's why it's so popular, is it's, because no one talks in topics. You just talk.
No, it'd be weird if you pulled out a spreadsheet and went, all right, now.
Today we did 3 minutes of Panama. Now we're gonna do 7 minutes of this, and if you look here, we got an 11-minute. Like, no, fuck that, man. Like, fuck that. Yeah. So, like, what are the okay? If you don't mind me jumping back to the tanks, because I'm curious about this shit. Is what different rounds are there?
Okay. For all practical purposes, there were 3. There was 4, but I never even saw a live version of the 4th. So there was Sabo, which armor-piercing fin stabilized discarding Sabo with tracer, APFSDST, and that's the dart. That's the dart. That's your tank killer.
Yeah.
Your other most common round is Heat, high explosive anti-tank, which ironically you don't use to shoot at tanks. That one bothered me a lot. It's like high explosive anti-tanks, but you don't
pull your microphone.
Oh,
sorry.
High explosive anti-tank rounds. You don't use them against tanks? No. Oh. Okay. Armored personnel carriers, bunkers, so forth, so on. Any large vehicle that isn't a tank, you throw a heat at it, or a bunker, or the other one that I have to sadly admit I never got to shoot was the canister round.
What the fuck is that?
It's exactly what that shit sounds like. It is a shotgun.
Oh my god. An Abrams shotgun.
Yeah, I don't remember the dimensions, if they're 3/4 inch or 1 inch tungsten ball bearings. Packed about, there's got to be a couple hundred of them per projectile.
Jesus
so,
Christ.
So that round touches off, goes down the gun tube. Once it clears the gun tube, then another charge breaks the warhead open, and that's when shit gets hectic on the other end of that muzzle.
Jesus Christ! Now what is the? So you got your dart to take out other tanks. You've got your heat to basically any other vehicle, or it seems like somewhat armored or fortified position. What's the shotgun for? Hippies?
Crunchies.
Crunchies?
It's what we call dismounted infantry.
People?
That crunching sound they make when you run them over.
Oh my god. Crunchies. It's just so it's so family friendly.
Well,
in name. Families aren't friendly to the treads on so
yeah, that's a weird one. It didn't take me too long to realize that all right, I know you're young, but the picture of the guy standing in front of the tanks at Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
Did you see? Okay.
I actually I just wrote a paper on that.
You want to know how I know? You want to know how I know that the tank commander of that lead tank was a fucking rookie? Because the tank would move left, then the dude would match it.
Yeah.
Then it move right. The dude would move right. If I was the TC on that lead tank, all right, driver, center him up on the hull. All right, boss, move the fuck out. He's going to be fine. You're going to knock him down. You're going to run right over him.
Oh, through the center.
Yeah, he's going to have plenty of
clearance.
Just don't do turns on top of him. That's kind of a dick move. But yeah, you could just lay down and let a tank run over you.
Yeah.
It's a little on the unnerving side.
Yeah, but if you, because they're not like cars. You don't got all that exposed shit on there. That's just like a smooth blast shield, basically, right? From what I know, from my dumbass, but
no, it's belly armor is significant because it's meant to defeat mines.
Yeah, anti-tank mines.
And anti-tank mines ain't little.
Yeah, well, they can throw. Who was it? I think it was Andy Stumpf, the Navy SEAL, was on Rogan, and he was talking about before they got the MRAPs, how you see like anti-tank mines. He said he saw Humvees thrown like 100 feet in the air. Yeah. And an MRAP is like, that's supposed to be the hybrid of the, a Hummer with some of the shielding of a tank. Nothing doesn't touch it.
The thing about the MRAP is that its hull is V-shaped to disperse that force, right? Yeah. And that way, you could sacrifice your tires, your suspension, and the hull will most likely be intact. But it's still lightly armored. Yeah. In comparison to what I'm used to. Yeah. That being said, it's better than nothing. I have no experience with MRAPs. They were out. They were in when I was out. So that was kind of a common sense evolution of it. But mines are troublesome.
Can an Abrams just take one? Like, is it like, from like videos I've watched and things I've read, it seems like the MRAP is like everyone on board will survive. It's the MRAP still needs to be repaired because it'll blow off shit. But it's like, okay, everyone survives. It's like, you're not wiping out personnel. With a tank, is it like, okay, you survived, but everything needs to be fixed, or is it like we survived and just keep rolling? Like, I'm a fucking tank.
Well, what most likely happens if you hit an anti-tank mine is you'll either blow a tread not off, but you'll break it, or you could lose a road wheel. Either way, most of the times you're okay. The vehicle isn't. And you can either repair it there. That's why you have those those great tank mechanics that come up with recovery vehicles that snatch your ass out of there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you don't. I haven't heard of too many anti-tank mines actually killing a tank. I've heard of IEDs killing a tank when they take, a dozen artillery warheads and wire them all together.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're going to lose mobility. Mm-hmm. You're going to lose a track or a road wheel. But what little I know, most of the time, what I've heard, crew is fine.
Mm-hmm. Now let's say they fucked up your mobility and you're just stuck there. Could you just sit in there with people shooting at you?
Depends a lot on the environment. If you're dealing with a bunch of dismounted types, then what's going to happen is, if your engine's running, you have hydraulics, mm-hmm. which means the turret can move, and that turret spins fast, so you can.
It does.
You can address. Yeah, you can address threats quickly.
Yeah, you still got your fucking tank and your machine gun.
Oh no, you got several machine guns.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. The basic loadout for the M1 A1 is your 120 millimeter cannon. You have a M240 as your coaxial machine gun, and the loader sitting on the left side of the gun has another 240, which is 7.62, mm-hmm. and then the tank commander has a 50 caliber M2. The Ma Deuce, we called it, the M2.
Yeah.
And that thing is capable of
fucking
hitting
shit
stuff.
Up.
Yeah.
Isn't that...
Yeah.
You ever read that book, Marine Sniper?
Oh, Gunny Hathcock?
Yeah, Carlos Hathcock.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he use an M2? Didn't he modify one?
Well, once again, best of my recollection, on the ground, you use a tripod and what's called a T&E mechanism, a traverse and elevation mechanism. It's a click adjustable wheel. Mm-hmm. And if you know what you're doing and you have one of these T&E elements, you can get minute adjustments to the gun without, having to mm-hmm. manually swing it around. And some Wikipedia warrior out there is fact-checking me and losing his shit.
Yeah.
From what I remember, I think he had a 10-power scope attached to it, mainly just so he could see where the hell the guy was.
Yeah.
And then, I guess center punched him, and that's
like a fucking BB hitting a tomato.
Just bad news the whole way around.
Yeah.
Just super bad news.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, hang on a second.
Yeah.
That lovely sound. So, I took 50 cal brass and made wind chimes out of them.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome, man. You should fucking sell that shit. You can make those, man. Dude, people would absolutely buy them. People would absolutely fucking laugh hysterically at that.
Oh, well, if you like that, you're going to love this. Hang on a second here.
Yeah.
But I cut the necks off so they chime a little bit better.
Yeah.
But these are 20 millimeter Vulcan.
Jesus Christ. Is that the shit from the... Is that the... Is that the A10?
No, that's 30 millimeter. This is 20, and all right, let's do a size comparison. That's the 20.
Yeah.
With its neck cut off.
Yeah.
That's a 50.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay, now. Oh shit, you're in luck. You're in luck. That's the 20 with its neck cut off.
All right.
That is the full size 30 millimeter from the A10.
Jesus fucking God.
And now you know why that. Even though we know they're on our side, A-10s give me
anxiety.
Freedom boners and nightmares at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just like, thank God you guys are on our side.
That thing fire? How many does that thing fire a second when it's fucking letting it off the rails?
Oh God, I can't remember its cyclic rate.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to pretend like I know it off the top of my head.
Shit. Damn it. It's one of those things I actually used to know.
It's more than one, which is plenty terrifying. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, that thing... You ever get a hold of some...
Microphone.
You ever get a hold of some good videos of it? You get to see them on a gunnery range, and, they got the cameras looking at the tank, and you just hear... you just hear the rounds impacting, and then 6 seconds later, you're...
Yeah. It's the fucking craziest thing. I
was like, oh shit, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't want that guy anywhere near me.
Yeah, I remember watching a documentary on it, and this guy was like, yeah, the first time I flew it, he was like, I felt like I was flying a dragon. Because he's like, it roars, and it blows. He's like, you don't think about it. He's like, but it blows fire, and he's like, you can still smell it in the cockpit. And I was like, oh, it doesn't... Yeah, and he's just like... And not only that, he's like, yeah, you feel like you have, like, scales, because the cockpit is like what is it called? The titanium bathtub?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you get small arms fire, and it's like, it just kind of... Ding, 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 ding. It's, yeah. Do you think that thing could fuck up an Abrams?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Most definitely. That 30 millimeter... It's a very large projectile. It's moving real fast, and almost always he's gonna attack from the top, which on every tank on the planet is where the armor's thinnest.
Oh shit!
And it's just the way it is. So he's gonna come up here. He's gonna come down here. Give me the burp burp, and I'm wearing angel's wings and going, oh fucking A-10s again. Yeah. Those guys. Those guys are fucking serious. I like them a lot.
Yeah. How come? I guess they were designed for Soviet tank columns, which you know didn't.
Because back in the good old Cold War days, when you knew who your enemy was, because he told you, Jesus, this is how old I am. When I clearly remember East and West Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
shut up, rookie.
Yeah.
But the Russians had way more. The Russians had access to way more tanks than we could produce.
Yeah.
So the only way to even the score, if shit kicked off, was something like the A-10, or where I'm assuming a good pilot could strafe a tank column and put several notches on his gun belt in one pass.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fascinating answer to a very numeric problem.
Yeah.
They had
us outnumbered with tanks. That was the Soviet. Yeah, it was like that was the fear, the Soviet tank threat, because they just had they had waves of them. Now, how hard would it be? I feel like that you said the armor's thinnest on top with all the tanks. How hard would it be for someone to just counter that and just be like, hey, put more fucking armor on top?
Okay, that's
in my inexperienced, uneducated opinion on that. Why? How come that's not the case? Just fucking put more armor on top.
Okay, with any tank, you have a 3-level balance that you're trying to achieve of performance, firepower, and protection. If you have more protection, something else has to get sacrificed.
Okay. Mobility or movement or...
Yeah, that would be performance. Or you could mount a smaller gun. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So you have to find out where you're willing to sacrifice, and I mean, there's nothing stopping you from just adding plate steel to the top.
Yeah.
I mean, your turret is going to perform differently. Your drive motors, your hydraulics have to count for that.
Mm-hmm.
Your turret brakes are going to wear out faster.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of shit that I am not smart enough to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it just seems like we have to figure out where we can cut weight, because we have one airplane at the time that can lift this fucking thing. Oh, well,
yeah. Because C5 Super Gal, that can only hold 2 Abrams, correct?
Yeah, the Globemaster. I'm pretty sure the Globemaster can take a couple.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%.
Now,
but
oh yeah, I forgot. You said you were an aviation buff as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, what do you think about obviously, well, then you know everything about the Antonov 225, which, for anyone that doesn't know, is a massive fucking 6-engined monster that the Soviets built to ferry their space shuttle around.
I actually saw it.
You saw the Antonov? What the fuck is that like?
Disturbing.
Yeah.
It came to McCarran back in the 90s. And like this is right after the Berlin Wall came down. It seems.
I hear McCarran and I think Bob Lazar. But that's the Vegas airport.
Yeah. So me and another friend of mine who was a big aviation nerd were like, we got to go see this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're riding our bikes up to McCarran, and you could see it from blocks away. Just like you could see, all right, there's some lights, and there's this gigantic tail.
It's like when you see like a cruise ship, and it's not changing size as you move towards it.
And the funny thing is, Vegas was smaller back in those days, and I was on a road. Gonna ballpark it and say 4 miles away from McCarran. I could still see it plain as day. Like, there it is, right there. It's a gigantic fucking white beast.
Yeah.
It was disturbing that something that huge flies
thousands and thousands of miles. Yeah, it's.
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone describe it as like, it's just one of those things you see, and it's like, I know it can fly, but because it's on the ground right now, I don't believe it can fly. It's just, man.
It was disturbing. It was just you got next to the fence, and it's still 100 meters away from you, and you're still doing this to look at the goddamn tail.
Yeah. I watched a documentary on it, and they have some, fucking Soviet guy, Russian guy talking about it. And he's like, it's very big plane. He's like, but a lot of people think you need to be big man to fly it. And I just remember thinking, I don't think anyone thinks that. It's fucking, like, it's huge, but it's a cockpit. He's like, contrary to belief, you don't need to be big man. And I was just like,
because we have just invented hydraulics.
Yeah, it's like, he was like, you just put hand on throttle and push. You don't need to be extraordinarily large man. I just remember thinking, no one thinks that, but you can tell that's such like a Soviet, like, macho, like that's the first thing he thinks to address. You know, there was a version of it. They didn't build it. I don't know what the fuck the name is. I think it might be like they're gonna call it the 325, but the engine's closest to the fuselage. There was gonna be almost like a B-52. There was gonna be 2, and then it was gonna be 1. So it was gonna be 8 total. Yeah, you can. Yeah, I think it's the 325. They didn't make it, but yeah.
So what do you move with the new version? Countries. We move countries. You You take the country, you put it in cargo bay, you fly it to new place, new country.
You bring to Gulag. It one done. It perfect. Yeah. Well, so
I see your horrible Russian accent is as good as mine.
Yes, that's all we need, man. So what do you think about? And I don't know how factually accurate this is, or if I'm just pulling an article out of my ass from like a couple of years ago. But I'm pretty sure the Chinese military wants to contract the Antonov Design Bureau to build them, several of them. Because there's one in the world. I believe there's one other one, but it never got out of scrap. But I believe they want to build. They want to order several of them for military transport. Just getting on the topic of like moving tanks, I bet those motherfuckers can hold a couple. But
I'm willing to bet.
Yeah, but that. Part of me wants it to happen because I know the U.S. won't let itself be stood up, which makes me hope that this is just going to lead to like a new like war of one-upmanship of just massive cargo planes that aviation buffs we're gonna be the true victors because we can just watch these two hyper-powered trillion-dollar economy nations just one-upping each other. Yeah, I'm just hoping for bigger and bigger planes, but yeah.
Just the fact that once upon a time they shared a economic system. Russians and Chinese, they don't always get along. I mean, they've had
but I was just
military engagements along the border area. So if Russia was strapped for cash and they were like,
I was gonna say, yeah, money talks, man. And China's they're fucking flush with it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that would be fucking crazy, like a fleet of Chinese Antonov 225s. Yeah, which just makes me think, though. I just think someone, like military generals, like least of all, someone like Trump would just be like, "Fuck no," just like we're getting a bigger one, like. Like we got to. Yeah, like no one wants to be stood up like that, especially the United States. I mean, like, with aircraft carriers, with fucking fighter jets, like, we don't let anyone else have the F-22. Like, we always, it's always, everyone out, like, allies, you can have some. You can have some. You can't fucking have all of it. Like, and I just, even something as simple as, like, okay, the C-5 Super Galaxy can hold 2 Abrams. I just feel like I just see some generals in the Pentagon just be like the Antonovs can hold 3, and whether or not the threat is real, I just see it being inflated and being like like Dr. Strangelove would be like, we cannot have a tank transport gap, like some shit like that.
Shit, yeah. Because one other thing about aircraft that just like I can't believe you get this shit to fly was. My great uncle was pilot in command of B-17s in Europe, and I got to see a B-17 parked next to the, at that time, only flying B-29 in the world, and the B-29 dwarfed it.
Yeah.
Like, you're thinking, the Flying Fortress, it's huge, and it is.
Yeah.
And then you look at the B-29, and it's massive. And then you look at the
B-36 next to that fucker.
36, and then you're like, what crack pipe were you guys fucking smoking?
To be fair, the B-36 still is fucking insane.
Oh, sweet Jesus. How many more engines can you rethrow on this? Well, we've got some room on the end of the wings. Throw some jets on it.
Curtis LeMay didn't give a fuck.
This story might be apocryphal, but LeMay was catching a standard flight in some plane, one of his, from one airbase to another, and he, I don't know what he's famous for, smoking cigarettes or smoking cigars, but anyway, he lit up a cigar, and the crew chief was like, "Got to put that out, sir. We have a fire hazard." And then he looks at the guy, looks around, and goes, "It wouldn't dare." And just...
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah, he was on...
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I said, those sort of stories might be apocryphal, but...
But then again, someone like LeMay who... he didn't just like he didn't command. He would switch up flight patterns in from what I remember from what is it, Killing the Rising Sun, Bill O'Reilly's book. I don't love or hate Bill O'Reilly. I don't give a shit. It's a wonderful book, but talk about LeMay's changing up, like, I guess, bomber formations going into Japan or the islands outside of it. And he used to switch shit up, but he would always say, like, okay, like, I got, like, a new idea, I'll fly lead. It was just sort of, like, big nuts. So everyone was like, all right, well, you know, he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's literally putting his ass out front.
Wow. I hadn't heard that.
LeMay is fucking crazy. I mean, like any, you know, I guess top general like that, you eventually develop sort of a god tier ego kind of thing, like, you know. But
which, by the way, reminded me of something with the Patton reference you made earlier. World War II, and Patton being Patton, no shortage of love for himself. I remember him saying this phrase, something along the lines of, you know, I'm supposed to be the best goddamn tank commander in this man's army. And he pointed at one particular tank, but I think that guy's got me beat. And that guy was Creighton Abrams.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
So when I heard that, I was like, I think we did right.
Yeah.
I think we named the tank correctly.
Yeah.
If Patton
gave that guy the nod.
If he actually said someone is better at something than I am.
And Patton had as big as an ego as they come. You're gonna hate that. I gotta piss again, dude. My bladder's so bad. Dude, I'm sorry.
Listen, it's better to have 20-something seconds of dead air than it is to get a bladder infection. Because that shit ain't cool. Shit. God damn it. Now, I'm talking to a dead screen, but I'm trying to figure out if Patton actually said, in reference to the European theater, that we had the best tank. And are you saying that to make everybody feel better? Because we don't have a good track record of fighting the Germans.
All right. So.
All right.
What?
Oh, I was waxing philosophical about. Once again, throw my standard caveat out there. If my memory serves me correct, that when Patton was talking about the invasion of Europe and why we didn't need to fear, so like, we have the best leaders, we have the best training, we have the best tank. But did we though? Because those facts don't bear out. I mean, you have plenty of people that think the Sherman in general was a shitbox, and it wasn't. It just didn't advance.
Yeah.
When we fought in North Africa, our tanks, German tanks, were basically on par.
Mm-hmm.
They kept developing. We did not. We did it's good enough. And that low velocity 75 millimeter gun against Panthers, Tigers, that shit did not work out well.
Yeah. Bill Burr said something funny about it. He was like he quoted some guy. He was like it's like the German tank can take for every German tank, it's one German tank is worth 4 American tanks. And I said, well, why did the Germans lose? It's because we always had 5. Like he was like America, we didn't have the best quality, but Bill Burr's like, we just Big Mac that shit. We just fast food it. We're like, crank it out. Doesn't matter how many. Doesn't matter how shitty it is. Just keep cranking them out. And I mean, you know, maybe they knew it wasn't the best. It's just me bullshitting. Maybe they knew it wasn't the best tank, but it was just like, we had the assembly lines down pat, and
Mm-hmm.
the American war machine during World War II was just,
we could outproduce.
It was just, it doesn't matter if there's like, we'll hit them with 1,000 of them. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like China. It's like, it doesn't matter that, like, the average person doesn't have the education or the salary. When you have 1 billion of them, you can just kind of fucking outnumber everyone.
Right. Now, a book I was reading was called Spearhead, and it was about the first Pershing crew in 3rd Armored? Fuck, I can't remember. And the development of the Pershing came around because of public pressure. Evidently, tank crews were getting interviewed going, yeah, we can't scratch the paint on these guys, heads up. And we don't mind not having the armor. Believe me, we can maneuver, we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, even if we do that, our gun isn't good enough.
Out, yeah.
And then the public started going, well, our boys are supposed to have the best of fucking everything, because America.
It's America. But also, yeah.
So, evidently, heads started rolling, and they were like, yeah, we're pushing the Pershing out now, because at a 90-millimeter high-velocity gun. And at that time, there was still the Sherman they called the EZ-8 with a 76-millimeter high-velocity gun, and that was handling business just fine with the Germans. I mean, it could kill whatever Germans they ran across. Their armor wasn't as thick as the Germans was. Mm-hmm. But the Pershing comes out, and I guess it was just murking fools out there, and they just sent it out without testing because public pressure demanded they do something. Mm-hmm. Never underestimate a supportive home base.
What's that? What's that?
With public pressure.
Oh, okay, get it, yeah, okay.
Yeah, being the catalyst for getting a new, better tank out there. And funny thing is, all right, you ever get next to a Sherman? It's tall. I mean, tall. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, you're looking up at it. But in comparison to an Abrams, it's compact. I mean, it's not small, but it's definitely the monster you're used to is way larger. Mm-hmm. But you get inside, and you go, holy shit, these guys had room. Not a lot of it.
Yeah.
But their turret had a gun and ammunition storage and a radio. Mm-hmm. And that was about it. Mm-hmm. There was no ballistic computers. There was no this, no that. It was all very basic. And a hell of a lot more roomy than any modern tank I've ever been in. And that bothered me. That bothered me a lot.
Yeah. Like, wait, why do we go backwards?
Isn't newer shit supposed to be better? Even though you and Abrams had probably punched through a couple of Shermans.
Yeah. Do Abrams have bathrooms inside them?
Yes, they're called Gatorade bottles. You get the wide mouth, and you make sure you do not lose your lid.
Gross.
Not really.
No, I mean, I was thinking like you got to shit. Bigger Gatorade bottles?
No. What I preferred to do is if time and tide allowed, dismount, you drop your deuce, you bury the shit, you move back on.
Just jump out, yeah.
If it's what we call an expedient, you got to shit now. I have had the gunner swing the gun tube over so that I could grab a hold of the rails and hang my ass off the side of the tank and drop a stink pickle right off the back of that thing.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, it ain't glamorous, man.
Yeah. Do you think that so you still they still manually load the rounds, correct?
Yes.
Do you think that will ever be fully automated? I feel like that'd be, yeah. I feel like that would expedite shit.
Well, Russians feel the same way, and they get got. because of it. I can't remember the standards, but it's your loader is supposed to be able to open the armored magazine door, which is hydraulic, grab the correct round, throw it down the gun tube, arm the gun, get out of the way in under 6 seconds.
Jesus.
No, that's not hard to do.
Okay.
I actually knew a kid. He had to have chimpanzee DNA in him because he was all of 5'6", 140 pounds, and the fire command would always go, "Gunner, Sabo, tank. Gunner, this is who I'm talking to. Sabo, this is the bullet you're going to shoot. Tank, this is what you're shooting it at." So, Gunner, Sabo, tank. And he's up. No, you can't say up. You have to wait till the gun's loaded. No, the gun's loaded. Bullshit. It's been 2.5 seconds. And we made him drop the breech. The round slid out. We're like, how the fuck?
Holy shit.
This kid came from the artillery. So he was used to just, like, humping these 155 millimeter rounds. And I guess to him, the Abrams rounds were really not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And, all right, so let's round it down to 5. A loader should be able to throw a round into the breech every 5 seconds. Russians, who are slave to the autoloader, is 10 to, like, anywhere from 9 to 11 seconds. And worse, you always have an exposed warhead inside your turret.
Mm-hmm.
So you catch the golden BB, a lucky piece of shrapnel, and something hits your high explosive warhead. Well, then congratulations, you're all dead.
Yeah.
The Abrams, you can blow up my ammo rack. We can button up the turret and all get out through the driver's hole. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's a difference in mentality because Russians can produce lower profile tanks.
Like stealth?
No, not as tall. And okay, well, you have a lower silhouette, but you also just removed a set of eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
And an extra set of hands and an extra gun in case you become infantry suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
By that, I mean your tank takes a hit and you get homeless.
Yeah.
In the future, I'm pretty sure it'll be automated, but right now, a good loader, I wouldn't trade it. Mm-hmm. I like having an extra set of hands.
Mm-hmm.
I like having an extra set of eyeballs. And when it's time to do maintenance, which is all the fucking time on a tank,
mm-hmm.
you got another dude that you can go, hey, go do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the tank commander.
Yeah. Now, is there any? I mean, I know they never stop. Is there anything in the works to replace the Abrams anytime soon, or is that going to be like the B-52 and just the grandkids are going to be using it?
They're going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Are we up to the M1 A2 SEP V3? I don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
Looks cool, but it's too much shit. The tank commander's weapon station, instead of being a 50 caliber mount, from what I saw, was a crow's mount, and that's a remote operated weapon
mm-hmm.
system. But the problem is it's right in front of the goddamn tank commander.
Yeah.
So as you're tanking around doing cav shit, you gotta do the stick your head out you gotta do the Ace Ventura method of tank commanding. And,
do you think they'll have like remotely operated tanks? Because now, you don't need to worry about having the extra set of hands, extra set of eyeballs, because there's you don't have anyone. You don't need to worry about. Just have a fucking fleet of those motherfuckers with self-loading cannons, and you're just piloting them from Nevada, like they do with drones and shit.
Yeah, I think inevitably the future is going to go that way. I don't like that on a philosophical level. I don't. You tend to second. You give it some thought. Am I going to put this 19-year-old kid into a gunfight in downtown Fallujah?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am. Okay, then it's probably something you're committed to. When there's going to be no recourse for no casualties, I think people just might get fast and loose with, I didn't like the way that riot about
whatever,
the price of tomatoes went in Rome. Send in
the tank. Who gives a fuck what they do? Who gives a shit if they blow it up? Whatever. Send in another. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I get we don't risk pilots.
But how many more do we kill because of it?
No, I don't know. Our last president was dropping drone strikes like they were fucking mixtapes because there was no fucking downside.
But yeah, it's it is. It's you hear if there's ever like a massacre from our side, like shit, it makes history. Like think about like the Vietnam massacres that U.S. soldiers perpetrated. But yeah, drone strikes, myself included, drone strike. You just don't really like think about it like a Hellfire missile hitting a fucking wedding. Like, think about like a wedding, like that perfect day. Imagine if one person had a heart attack at a wedding. They'd be like, oh my god, I can't believe someone died at a wedding. Like, oh my god, like of all days, a wedding. And it's like, now imagine a fucking Hellfire missile being piloted.
Just gonna.
And there's not even a pilot. It's just some motherfucker on the other side of the world who gets to drive home tonight in his Prius. Like, it's just like here's your.
Why did that visual just make perfect sense?
You're just driving home afterwards, I mean, it kind of takes away from it because it's. Yeah, I mean, I could see that, and then the argument would inevitably get to, all right, we do kill more civilians, but we don't lose any Americans, and then it's. Yeah, and then it's well, which one? It's a zero-sum game kind of thing, and it's obviously that's above my pay grade.
Yeah, it's definitely above mine, but like I said, I understand it, and I wouldn't be some Luddite going, technology bad. No, it's I get it, but if you remove the humanity of it, I just see that getting used fast and loose and. Like that's why if I never would, were I an elected representative, like we need to go do this in this country. Mm-hmm. It's like great, some fucking 22-year-old kid from Henderson is going to get his leg blown off because you decided that you needed to fight, and you never went there. Yeah, you just sat in a suit in an office.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the Goodwill Hunting rant.
Yeah,
it's not your son going over there. It's some kid from Southie. Like he's got shrapnel in his ass. Like, the politicians don't give a shit. But yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's weird. I believe Irwin Rommel when he said, "I conduct war without hate." And if you read what the man wrote, I believe it. It's like, listen, you're I got a job to do. You're in my way of that job. If I got to kill you to get you out of my way, then that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I hate you. I have no animosity towards you, but I have an objective. You're in the way of it. And you're about to get some desert fox in.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's kind of. I get that sort of view. I don't have a problem with you, but I got sent here to do a job. Yeah. And you're not even the hard part of it.
Yeah.
if you're some militia dude who shoots his AK in Liberian offhand.
Like Mogadishu, they're all. Yeah,
you're not exactly okay. If you're armed, you're a threat, but I'm pretty sure at 200 meters, you're not hitting a goddamn thing.
Yeah,
but you never know. It's the interesting thing. It's what did they say? Professionals are predictable, but amateurs are dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it, but I still wouldn't want to pick a fist fight with Larry Vickers in a dark alley somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Delta guy for a number of years, and some crackhead. I'm way more comfortable doing that.
Yeah. I got one more and then I gotta go do some Christmas shopping because I'm did not realize that today's the 23rd.
Oh no, the wife has been out here twice to remind me of this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I got one more question. It kind of completely from left field. Do you ever think they'll it just popped in my head. It's not, I'm setting it up as this important question. It's not important at all.
No.
Do you ever think they'll fucking put like railguns on tanks? Eventually they will be miniaturized. Right now they take an entire power supply of like a destroyer, but like all things, eventually we'll master it and it will be whatever.
What?
I don't know what the purpose would be. But
see, that's a good one because naturally I want to say yes, we're gonna get there. What the hell? Last railgun I remember, it required the amount of power of 1,500 homes.
Yeah. Oh no, they're insane.
So either power requirements got to go down or ability to produce power got to go up.
Yeah.
I think eventually,
but it will happen. Like
I honestly I think so, but it's going to be one of those things where B-52 versus B-2. We got a shitload of B-52s.
Yeah.
So how much are we going to spend replacing something that we're still using and is still airworthy?
Yeah.
It's that. I mean, it's a good question. I think technology inevitably is going to go there.
Yeah.
I think so, because the amount of kinetic energy that those things are capable of delivering is
hypersonic. Well, you don't need a warhead. You just need it just needs to be a kinetic you don't need explosives and shit. And I believe if I remember, the rounds are much smaller too. So you could keep God fucking knows how many of them.
Yeah, that's one I can't wait to see. And in my dystopian steampunk fantasy, the Iowa's got to come out of retirement and get fitted with railguns because that's the kind of world I want to live in.
Fuck yeah! God damn it! I'm gonna fucking Photoshop that later. that's a yes. But I remember reading I vividly remember being in like early high school and like reading in Popular Mechanics about railguns, and it was like there's still a pipe dream right now because they would require like 64 megajoules, and the most we can produce. And I remember saying like eventually though, like all things, like we will master it. Fast forward, it's 2019, like eventually the time passes. It's been 15 years, and like you can go on. I don't know if you ever go to the YouTube channel Curious Droid. You would fucking love it. You would fucking love it. He just covers all things fucking military and explosive and killing. But he does one on railguns, and it's it's not just him talking about railguns. It's legitimate videos from the Department of Defense firing railguns, and it's like firing somewhat often too. It's not like fire one and then we gotta look at the data for 2 days. It's like fire and it's like 30 seconds later fire, and it's doing it accurate.
Wow.
They're producing the power, like they did it. Whatever it is, it's either it needs less power or they're producing more. But yeah, it's a little tiny fucking, the round is maybe, I don't know, not maybe a foot long.
Mm-hmm.
It fires out. There's no warhead in it. It's just, or there's no explosive. It's just fucking. It's like a cone.
Dense metal.
Yeah, and they shoot it through. They shoot it through like 10 fucking pieces of I guess bulletproof armor. Like it just
right.
So.
All right. No, all right. Here's one for your revisionist.
Okay.
Okay. The Enterprise. Now out of commission. There's a lot of rumors about the Enterprise because she was the first big nuclear aircraft carrier. And aircraft carriers have 2 reactors. I don't know if they run them both or if one's primary. I have no idea. The Enterprise had 8 reactors.
What?
I'm not shitting you. But it's sort of irrelevant because there's only so much that because it all comes down to steam generation and those it can only produce so much. So it has all this essentially leftover production capability. Let's just reuse that flight deck and just put a bunch of fucking railguns on it because you clearly have the power production to do it.
Yeah, I mean, shit. And I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure why. You put it on tanks. You do it because you could carry a ton of fucking a ton of rounds with insane, force projection. But then again, it's like kind of a part of the reason for like, ships having it is like. Because you could strike quickly. It's hypersonic. It's, you don't need to worry about targets leaving. It's like...
But you gotta remember, that's a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
That is a hard target kill.
Yeah. And eventually they'll learn how to evade it or they'll learn how to defend against it. It always happens. It's been happening since, the spear. Someone will figure out how to defend against it.
I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it. But you gotta... I don't know, maybe I should read more, but my very first thought is like the Iowa. Mm-hmm. Like, that... Yeah, those 16-inch guns. Yeah. If they were going to slug it out, they have armor-piercing shells. Mm-hmm. If they're doing shore bombardment, they have high-explosive shells. They are not the same thing. Mm-hmm. Different targets, different ammunition, and especially if you're lobbing it up, you're going to come down on top of something. If something's moving Mach 5, are you going to have to shoot from Virginia in order for it to land in, the Middle East?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's fascinating. I think sooner or later we're going to get there. But holy shit, I know we're going to have some teething problems with it because that's just the way it works. Bradley.
Yeah.
Bradley.
Fuck, man. Well, I goddamn hope.
Well, it's all a matter of the science. The science behind it is solid. Mm-hmm. It's functioning now. It's just power requirement, power generation, and just like you said, sooner or later, they're going to fine-tune those requirements. And we'll be walking around like, what is that fucking sword? Eraser. Walking around shooting plasma bullets. That scope can see your bones. That's going to be weird. That's definitely going to be weird.
Yeah.
But like I said,
eventually.
Hey, people are still trying to find reasons to replace the M16 or M4 now, and the M4 is still here.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, we're replacing the B2 with the B21, but nothing can touch the B-2 right now. But it's...
Yeah, see, all right, now I'm going to give you a quick one. That's why if I ever sat on defense appropriations, my conversation would go like this. All right, we want to develop a new strike fighter. Okay. Give me the dollar cost per aircraft. I have no idea what a Raptor costs, but I'm just going to throw out $100 million. Okay, now, what's your current strike fighter? The F-15. How many F-15s have been shot down? None. You don't get a new fucking strike fighter. All right, it's just go ahead and develop, but keep that shit on the books. But an F-15 and a good pilot is gonna fuck up anything in the sky,
unless China or Russia want to nut up.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
One thing I told somebody about, which is better, the Abrams Challenger 2, Leopard 2, and I was like, who's got the best trained crew? Who got the best sleep the night before?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you guys were out hitting the titty bar, then you're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
But thanks to the dear American taxpayer, I've burned, and I was in the fucking National Guard, and I've burned lakes of diesel fuel. Lakes of it. And when it was time for gunnery, we shot fucking mountains of shells. And not everybody can afford to keep up with us.
Yeah, that's also true. It's do we need better when people just straight up can't hang.
Battle of 73 Easting proves that thing right.
Yeah,
we train hard, and the Iraqis got jumped into a game against the varsity team, and they weren't ready for that shit.
Yeah. Well, or I'm just thinking like SDI or the moon landing. Just get to a point where you don't need to beat them. Just outspend them. Eventually, they'll fucking lose.
Yeah, and B-2 is another one of those things. It was like we just outspent the Russians. They could not come up with anything.
Yeah, it's $2 billion a piece. Like this thing can,
Oh, by the way, I was thinking about the aircraft thing, and something bothered me because item number one, I cannot remember for the life of me what the F-117's name is.
Nighthawk?
Is it? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But then the nerd in me went, no, not the nerd, the neckbeard in me went, actually, why the fuck was it called the Stealth Fighter? Why does it have an F designation?
I listened to the audiobook Skunk Works by Ben Rich, and they talk about that, and I don't remember. You'd fucking love it. That's a great book. But yeah, a ton of it they talk about the F-117, and I think it was something almost like it was like the pilot's pride. It was something where it's like we're not bombers or we're not reconnaissance, like we're fighters. So it was. I think it's almost arbitrary.
Because it's an attack bomber.
Yeah, but they wanted to. I think it was something as simple as like they wanted an F in front of it, and so they got it. Like it'd be like if you called the B-2 the F-2. It's what's different? Nothing. That's what I remember. I listened to this book like a year ago.
Actually, that horrible explanation actually makes perfect sense. If you ever met fighter pilots, they love themselves a lot. And here's the thing, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, man. You're up there doing shit I can't do.
Yeah.
But you finish your flight, you get 12 hours of mandatory crew rest. Meanwhile, guys on my tank have been up for 2.5 fucking days and we're hallucinating because we haven't slept.
Yeah.
And occasionally some of us die.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know. I love fighter pilots. I love all that shit, but that we need an F in front of it to soothe our ego just makes so much sense.
It does.
All right, I'm going to leave you with one.
Okay.
I'm going to leave you with one. I was actually talking to a former A-10 pilot, and he'd been in A-10s almost his entire career. So naturally, I just went, by the way, I love you. Just putting that shit out there. Glad you're on our side. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Warthog drivers, we don't get a whole lot of love at the O Club. And I went, what? Are you shitting me? It's like, what was it, about six months ago or something? Me and a buddy were walking past a table full of Raptor guys, Raptor drivers. And they said shit like, hey, do you got an airspeed indicator in that cockpit or a calendar? What's it like flying a steam-powered airplane, you know? And that this guy, who understands the jokes, but just got tired of hearing the same ones, went, wait, who have you guys killed? Oh, that's right, fucking nobody. And just walked off. And I guess this crowd of Raptor drivers just went, fuck, we don't get to shoot anybody.
We've hit tanks with we've hit tents with JDAMs. It's like the A-10 gets to go in and get the fucking glory. It's true though, man. That fucker's slow. You ever play Ace Combat? That fucker, yeah. You hold the throttle down for 3 minutes, and you're like, wait, what? You're like, we gotta literally pull up start options. What's accelerate? You're like, oh, this is it. Like, I can't get the other.
But you have to calculate. The great equalizer
is yeah, it's.
And just so we put this out here, that whole Galway Avenger gun system was a fuck you to everything that ever made sense. The M61, I think it's called, the Vulcan, mm-hmm. which is the standard air-to-air cannon on almost every fighter for the last 50 fucking years, has a 6-barrel rotating electrically driven cannon or gun, 20 millimeter. And that's why the minigun is called the minigun, because it is a miniature version of the larger one. Because there's nothing fucking mini about a minigun.
Yeah.
6 barrels on the Vulcan. 6 barrels on the minigun. The Avenger, 7, because fuck you. Why are we going to do anything remotely the same?
Exactly.
Just everything about that gun and everything about that airplane was just a middle finger to common sense. It's like, are we going to make it fast? No, it's going to be slow as shit. Why? So we can spend more time killing motherfuckers. I imagine some coked up pilot just going, what? Just trying to figure out a way to spend more time killing more shit. We need to make it go slower.
Yeah.
So it's going to have some sexy delta wing, straight fucking wings. It's just some of this. I'll tell you what. We got good missiles. We got good rockets. We're going to put a big fucking gun on it.
Okay, we got all of it. We're just going to paint it gray. No! It needs teeth! Alright, we're going to call it Thunderbolt. Warthog!
Warthog!
Alright, fuck it. You know what? Give it to him. You guys want it? You can have it. 30 years later.
What happens when you run out of ammo? That's what the fucking teeth are for! And you just see some out of his mind pilot. Fuck it, I'm gonna get on.
Jesus
right,
Christ. I got. Hey man, it was fucking wonderful doing it. Thanks for doing it, man. If when this podcast eventually blows up, you'll be one of the originals.
Well, remember, when it comes to like the type of Photoshop shit you guys do, awesome.
Oh,
I'm a fan of it. I was like,
oh, thanks, man.
That's pretty fucking good work.
Thanks, man.
Just don't ever do double-barreled tanks, because that shit just does not add up ever, because you would have 2 breaches.
I'm gonna make one for you.
I basically said, don't think of a pink elephant.
Yeah.
All right, brother, I gotta go.
All right, man. Hey, Merry Christmas, and thanks for doing it, bud.
No problem.
All right, I'll send you a link when it's up.
All right.
All right. Bye, buddy.